Spoilers ahead, you've been warned. 20th out of 20 and last on my list of player rankings for the Traitors USA is Quentin. Quentin is clearly somebody who wasn't ever told they couldn't do something. He wasn't told no enough as a kid. I just have never seen someone be so wrong and so confident at the same time. When he came in, I was like, ooh, he's cute, wholesome, has the best wardrobe of the cast. But he ended up being the bane of the faithful's existence on this show. He was saying how he's really good at reading and analyzing people because of his job. But I wouldn't trust him to analyze a rock garden for me. And he keeps talking and trying to lead after being wrong, entirely off the mark. Like, at some point, you gotta hang it up, baby.
I voted for you, Rachel.
Oh, shocker.
And I'm not sorry about it.
19th is Andy. I know they were really hurt at the end when they found out who the traitors were, but my question is, what do they think they did to win $250,000? Kicked it with people and played some playground games? Be told that they got the traitors wrong every episode? Use their daughter for sympathy even though you didn't give Shelby the same empathy? I forget they were even here most of the time, honestly. I'd be like, yes, Kate made it to the Final Four. Oh, wait, there's Andy. They're still here. And they kept saying they were going with their gut on all of the votes, but at some point, honey, that's probably not your gut. That's indigestion. 18th, Reza. I really didn't know who this person was coming into this. All I knew was that there was a wildebeest screaming in everyone's ear on the first challenge, and I would have gotten rid of him regardless of if I thought he was a traitor or not, because we weren't dealing with that every episode. No, ma'am. Also, can someone tell me if he's gay? Because he said slay way too many times in the first episode to not be gay.
I have a lot of relatives who have houses that are actually nicer than the castle we stayed in. Our castle was a little drafty, I have to say.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
17th, Ryan. Everything I've learned and seen from Ryan Locke was against my will. He's a bro, he's very boring, just kind of along for the ride, and I was really happy when Suri finally put her foot down and killed his ass off.
I never met him one time in my life.
Okay, then let's vote Ryan.
16th, Geraldine. I had no idea that English wasn't her first language. She is a crazy smart woman, and it's really a shame that she was targeted first simply for shaking her leg at the first round table. When you had Michael having entire manic episodes before the first banishment, trying to make alliances when half of his team was buried alive in the damn ground.
Good evening. Nicki Minaj.
15th, Bam. Okay, so I really didn't remember him when I was making this list. He was just really cute and kind of a shocking early elimination. He's probably really interesting and smart in real life. I just think the traitors were targeting players that were in the middle, people that weren't too hated or too loved, like people that weren't an extreme personality.
Oh, she passed away? Oh. All right.
14th, Michael. I'm almost convinced that this man was some type of plant to help the traitors because he did everything wrong. He kept the suspicion off of the traitors for like half of the game. None of the men wanted to get rid of him. They really could have voted him out in the first round and saved everyone a lot of trouble. I also didn't like how he suspected Quentin as being a traitor for being, quote, well-read. Now, I'd never accuse anyone of racism or microaggressions based off of just that, but Quentin had his back. So Michael couldn't even be loyal to the people who were trying to get him through the next vote. And him trying to hatch a voting plan when people were buried in the ground and then telling them they'd better vote with him was wild. Then he cried and said he had social anxiety. But it's very interesting to me how Geraldine wasn't given the same excuses in episode 1. 13th, Amanda. I guess we'll never know how far she could have made it if she didn't have to leave the game. I really hope her family and everything is okay with her. She seemed to have a decent hold on people and the game from early on, but I don't think she would have gone all the way. She was kind of boring to me, but that's probably because of mostly the edit, and that was likely because she had to leave the game.
Hey guys, it's your favorite disappearing faithful Amanda here, and I'm finally going to tell you what happened and why I had to leave the castle. What really happened was that I tested positive for COVID, and I was no longer able to participate in the competition.
12th, Cody. I want to talk about Cody and why I think he's done so well in these games in the past. Now, he's hot, he's cute, the gays love him, whatever. Even though he was saying the word faggot on Twitter a while back, but that's besides the point. Cody is not particularly good at anything. He's not an alpha male. Now, I wouldn't know personally about being an alpha male, obviously, but let's take a look at him and his performances. He's strong enough to win a challenge over most people if he needs to, but he doesn't give off that muscular Neanderthal vibe like some of the people he's gotten out on his seasons. Clearly, he's a bad liar, and I don't think he was really prepared to live a lie for that long, and it clearly got to him. I loved seeing Suri cut him loose after keeping him in line to kill off his best friend Ryan, and I will give Cody credit for praising Suri after the fact, but the credit stops there.
Get him again. Get him for me. Get him again. Get him for me.
11th, Christian. Now maybe I'm biased because he pushed way too hard to kill off Stephanie, and that's my girl, but I've seen better acting on Pornhub, I fear. He was so terrible as a traitor. Suri pointed it out a bunch of times, and when people said he was an amazing actor after he got banished, I was so confused. Like, did we watch the same show? The boys, the bros, really protected him and just kept kicking the can down the road when it came to voting him off. But he was suspected pretty early on, if I remember correctly. I just didn't want him to leave the castle thinking he was good at anything.
Geraldine was an insanely awesome teammate when we came.
Oh, God. Are you giving me a eulogy now?
What? No. She was
Life isn't fair, Traitors isn't fair. We're gonna have to do this again tomorrow and the next day. So, I need some wine. Yeah.
10th, Angelica. I think she really got overshadowed by the celebrities. I think that was her problem. After like 4 episodes, I was saying, how are you gonna have a name like Angelica and still be that boring? But then the producers must have heard me because she started getting a lot more screen time. She was crying for most of it, but at least that's a personality. I'm not going to say that someone like her made it as far as she did solely based on luck, although I do think Cody helped to keep her around, which is why it was even more hilarious when she voted to send his ass home. I stand her for that. Her eventual murder was pretty predictable, just because she was so obviously faithful. I know at one point she said it probably looked fake because of how much she was crying, but no, like, this girl was literally sobbing. And I think that's why the Traitors had to take her out eventually.
If you can't be my friend, just please don't be my enemy. Because my life is tough enough as it is.
9th, Shelby. Probably the most gorgeous woman in the cast. I mean, her eyes and her hair were everything. Early on, she was such a big personality, like when she got buried alive, which I guess, how do you not have a big personality when you're buried alive? But she kind of lost that spark for me after the fact. I was really sad to see her go when she was getting emotional about her daughter, and I was definitely rooting for her at the end there. 8th, Azra. Stay with me now. I'm going to throw us out to reel us back in, okay? Azra was the best non-celebrity player. Whoa. But she really sat back and observed and didn't let the men just run a damn circus. If you go and watch, the women were really trying to get rid of who we wanted, the viewers, every episode. And when Kyle's mullet-head ass tried to pipe up and say the quiet people were suspicious, Azra shut his ass down and said she was observing. There were way too many cooks in the kitchen here, trying to lead at every banishment after being wrong, Quentin, And I really think Ezra helped direct the series in a great direction. The Traitors choosing between her and Angelica really seemed like a toss-up, and they unfortunately chose to murder Ezra. Wow! But she was really cute, and I think she would have been a major threat to win had Cody not been there. He ruins like every season he's on, like we already know this. All Stars 2, anyone?
Girl, you're a joke.
And had she been the one to survive over Angelica, I actually do think she probably would have went all the way. 7th, Kyle. Kyle flew too close to the sun when he started telling everyone who he suspected about halfway through his game. It just didn't make sense for him to switch up and suddenly start pointing fingers, but he was actually right about Cody. And Cody ended up being the first traitor they successfully banished, so Kyle kind of clocked him there. 6th, Ari. I will give credit where credit is due. I expected him to be out way earlier than he was. Much of the reason that I ended up loving him was because he banished himself at the end, even though I think Suri had the votes to get him out anyway, which I agreed with. Ari didn't have to do nearly the amount of work and scheming that Suri had to do from day one. I really couldn't ever see him winning as a faithful or a traitor because something just always felt off about him when he was a traitor. And as a faithful, he was probably going to end up murdered eventually anyway because he talked to so many people in the house.
And it's like, you know, put a stamp on it, case closed. There's nothing else to it.
5th, Brandy. Brandy is the only alcoholic I stand. Don't ask me why, but when the juice starts flowing, honey, and Brandy starts drinking, she really just says what everyone else wishes that they could say, and she's impressively intuitive. You wouldn't expect it from her, but she's done really well on a lot of these reality shows for a reason, and she'd named all 3 of the traitors by like episode 2. I was bald at that.
All right, at least I don't do crystal meth in the bathroom all night long, bitch.
4th, Kate. She probably ended up being my favorite of the season, and I had no idea who she was before this. Kate, for a rich, white, older lady, was so relatable to me. She knew damn well that those faithfuls didn't have a chance in hell, so why was she gonna help win money for other people? She really had a whole character arc from losing her best friends and allies early in the game to wanting to quit.
Kate, I saw that. Why are you throwing those in the mud? Because I'm a liability. Yo, Kate.
I have no idea what's different. I don't really care.
Really, team, I've got to hurry you.
Come on, Kate. You said you have a great memory.
I don't see you coming up with anything.
Because this wasn't my section. Nothing over there changed.
Okay. Stephanie says absolutely nothing, and her part of the billiards room has changed. I'm thinking, I doubt that.
That section wasn't my section. It was Kate's. It's so frustrating being on a team with her.
The other item was there was a black and red vase behind me, and now
it's green.
Whose section was that?
That was mine.
That was yours, Stephanie. You were very confident that nothing had changed.
It's like so embarrassing.
To helping everyone win back the $250,000 at the end.
Missions are just not the life I want to live. I love lounge life. Missions are the opposite of lounge life. Missions are getting up, going out, and doing things. Not my vibe.
I loved Kate. She absolutely carried this season and was the comic relief of a very intense show.
Yeah, still gorgeous.
Love her or hate her, when you think back on this show and this season, you're going to think of Kate. 3rd, Steph. I've been waiting to see Stephanie LaGrossa back on my TV screen for years now, ever since she was robbed on Heroes vs. Villains. She was my childhood hero. I love her. And she's aging in reverse, you guys. It's kind of insane. Clearly, she knows how to moisturize. As for her game, I expected her to be eliminated early because she would be deemed a threat, probably. But she really exceeded expectations here. Of the celebrities who made it far into the game, she probably had the best reads on who the traitors were. I'm so happy that she stuck around and we get to see a lot of screen time from her. She never disappoints, and this was no exception. 2nd, Rachel. Now, I've been on the other side of Team Rachel before.
Everything about you is a lie.
Oh,
your
really?
boobs are a lie. Your face is a lie. The only thing honest about you is the pimples on your chin.
Back in BB12, and I'm old enough to remember when everybody hated Rachel. But eventually you grow to love her. She's like a problem, but she's your kid that's a problem, so you look past it. You know what I'm saying? I kind of thought she'd be murdered or banished early on because she's such a huge personality, and it really speaks to her ability that she was able to form bonds that would get her through each murder, but also get her through almost every round table. She was the challenge beast we all knew she was. She thought the most strategically, and her elimination made no sense. People said Rachel has lied and played people in the past, and that didn't make any sense to me because Rachel was actually very loyal from what I remember from her past shows. Being some type of major liar was just never her MO. I'm glad she balded every single one of them before she left, and I'd expect nothing less from her. Queen.
I actually filmed a horror movie in a remote cabin in the woods.
Oh my God.
Was it called Your Honeymoon?
First, Sari. All I can say is we have waited 20 damn years for this. Early on, I thought maybe she could be suspected just because she was so quiet and not vocal about who she suspected. But I should have known that Sari understands the perfect balance, and she's beaten the odds against her so many times. I'm so glad that she understood the assignment, and she yanked all of that money away from everyone in the finale because she absolutely deserved it. Nobody else came even close to her gameplay, and she finessed the hell out of them. I am so happy to see her back and better than ever. Give her all the damn Emmys.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care what y'all have to say. That's my mama. She can have whatever she wants because that's my mama.